welcome back to Let's Play AM2R. Last time, we failed to traverse the tower. This time, let's not fail to traverse the tower. At least now I know I don't have to deal with the sentry robots. Because I wasted most of my ammunition on them, since they have missile shields and stuff. Just looking at the amount of damage I'm taking. Before even getting to the boss, I'm down 2 energy. That's a familiar looking vein. Yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to do there aside from just go to the ground and hope. I mean, that looks like ice beam. Missiles. I'm just dying to sheer attrition. I mean, there's not a word for it aside from the windows of opportunity to shoot at it are so small that I'm just standing there wasting all of my energy dodging and dying. I find it slightly bothersome, not gonna lie. Well, more than slightly bothersome. Because I see a lot of potential in that boss fight, but I feel like most of it's being wasted on too much going on all at once, I guess. If you got rid of the platforms falling out from under you, if you stand on them, it might make that a little less monotonous. Also giving a more square room instead of a vertical shaft. Just a couple things that I think would improve that fight. I don't mean just make it easier, make it more fluid and natural feeling. I don't know why my missiles were selected there. I dislike that each one of those has a different timing also, but that's more of just because they're there to chink me down before I get to the boss fight sort of thing instead of an actual obstacle. Actual... I don't know the right word. speed. The bullets fly at different speeds too, which is slightly more just general nuisance. But see, you expend so much effort just trying to get near it that it ends up being a stand around and wait for it to kill you. See, now I'm just waiting for the shots to disperse. And that's so far off the screen, I can't even get to it. If it stayed closer... Sure, why not? Just gonna keep bashing my head against it. From a critique standpoint, I think removing a little bit of height from the room and adding to the width would be a lot better, because you do spend a lot of wasted time at such a distance that you have no way to get close to it while it can pelt you with shots from out of your range, because your shots disappear a certain distance off the screen. I tested that with Torizo earlier. A certain distance off the screen, I stopped hearing my shots actually make any sort of contact. Meanwhile, its shots continue to fly at me. That has been an issue with many platformers over the years in general, is that a lot of times you'll have enemies that can shoot you from off-screen, but if they're off-screen, they're invincible. It seems to be a big problem with this boss in particular, that it will be far enough off the screen that you can't hit it. Meanwhile, it's flooding the screen with so many shots that you can't even attempt to get near it and just have to stand there and take the shots. Because most of the shots are indestructible, it leaves you with little room to... as Riot would say, there's no counterplay. Yeah. Joke about their recent insistence on everything having counterplay. But, yeah, that's the main thing that's getting me killed here, is that it's so far off the screen while it's pelting the area with shots. I think about a 30% reduction in arena height would make a big difference. Okay, so since you can take the cannons out, I guess that helps. Sorry if I'm quiet, because I'm concentrating. Okay. So yeah, figuring out that I can destroy the cannons and keeping ahead of that does help a lot. Need power bombs to get to that upgrade there. Ah. What the heck? Jumping straight to the plasma beam? Okay. And it's compatible with the Spazer? One of the weird idiosyncrasies in Super Metroid was you could not combine the plasma beam and the Spazer beam. If turning one on would turn the other one off. It was never really explained, it was just assumed to be incompatible technology. I didn't think we'd be getting that so soon. Basically our shots multi-hit and pierce through things. Which means you don't have to take their shields out, because you can just hit them directly. Let's go ahead and scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss anything. I've already read the tester. I'm gonna go back through here just to grab the save point. I'm surprised by getting the plasma beam. I mean, I would have assumed plasma is usually the last beam you get. In most Metroid games, I mean, not specifically in this one. Metroid 2 did not have the beam overlap system, so technically, whatever beam you last picked up would be the one you have. And there was no charge beam. Which you'd usually end up just keeping the ice beam, because certain enemies could only be dealt with the ice beam. Hint, hint, Metroid hint. Uh-oh. Already? I don't want to deal with them right now. Zeta! Also, look, there's a section of the map that I hadn't been to that's just disconnected right there, because that's where the cutscene happened. Zeta Metroid. After a substantial transformation of its body, the Metroid's power and defense is greatly improved. Though the Zeta Metroid can no longer fly due to its immense weight, its new legs are strong enough to carry it and perform great bursts of speed. The arms can deliver powerful strikes, and its mouth glands can spray highly corrosive substance. I was going to say acid, but substance. Its two prior forms were akin to a pupal phase. Discarding the Gamma Metroid's exoskeleton marked the beginning of its adulthood. Also going to make a note here. In the original Metroid 2, they still flew. This was later retconned a bit. And it also just made their fights obnoxious because they flew around the room and through the walls like ghosts. Metroid Fusion, in particular, showed the Omega walking and being unable to float. And Metroid 2 Remake sought to recreate that and have more interactive fights with the different forms. Hence the Zeta here. I love how its head follows. Ow! I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a clue what I'm doing here. Okay, there's what I'm doing. Oh, it leaves acid behind on the ground? Woohoo. My biggest problem is there's spiky bits on the ceiling. And I'm taking a lot of damage just from the spiky ceiling bits. Charge. The sound effect it made when it charged was actually pulled from Metroid Fusion. When the Omega Metroid made a swipe attack, it did that whoosh noise. I can't replicate it to save my life. You get the idea. Aren't you glad I went to the save point? And remembered somehow off reflex where to go. I want to know what all that is. Spiky rocks like that are not a typical thing that happens. I mean, unless it's just scrap robot parts out here by the tower, which is possible. There went all my super missiles. Okay, so you just fire when he's done something to make himself vulnerable. I love. I wasn't aiming to land in that hole. Where you going, buddy? What the heck? I was doing well, and suddenly I'm at half an energy tank? I really don't like that that's my one complaint about this game so far, is that it lacks the sound notification that lets you know you're low on health. I'll check the menu, but I don't think it was there. Sound options. Yeah, control options wouldn't have it. But yeah, that's about my one complaint. I don't like that you don't get notified when you're at low health. Because that's been a standard trait of Metroid games in general. Oh, there's all three super missiles hit. Huh. Can't touch this. 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 I was not even trying to leave the room. That's obnoxious. I mean, my own fault for trying to use that type of trick. I mean, that was my own fault. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Giving me a way to skip that would be nice. It almost makes me want to run back to the save point and come back just to get that beautiful cutscene. It's just, I don't need to see it 10 times. Oh! The spikes on the ceiling are slightly unnecessary. I'm taking more damage recoiling off the ceiling into the Zeta. And that's me just giving up at that point. I'm honestly aggravated by the spikes on the ceiling because the fight is designed for you to jump over the Zeta. Half the time jumping over the Zeta, you're going to hit the spikes. When you hit the spikes, you're almost guaranteed to recoil into the Zeta and get stuck in a stun lock, because when the Zeta hits you, it causes you to recoil. I mean, not recoil. You end up stunned on your knees for about a half second. And it can lead to rather obnoxious amounts of just repeated damage that you shouldn't have had to take in the first place. The 3 patches of spikes on the ceiling, however many patches of spikes on the ceiling seem to just be there as an obligatory environmental hazard, not due to any type of realistic need for it to be there. Patience running thin. Might be a sign I played too much. Anyway. On the one hand, I don't like the cutscene. On the other hand, I have a better start, since that makes it actually start coming towards me instead of having to actually walk over it. I really liked how in Metroid Fusion the Omega kind of made you stagger when it hit you. I'm really not liking that everything in its mother in this game has that same effect to a lesser amount of time. That makes sense. I mean, from a damage perspective, something that big hitting you, but it should be limited to certain attacks, not every single thing. The corrosive acid spit should not be making you get locked into a stun recoil. See, like that, I got hit twice, lost almost a whole energy tank, because I hit the spikes, which knocked me into the boss, which knocked me... Some of these boss rooms are not well designed. I'm starting to miss the days of boss rooms having a locked door. that's getting to be grating. Just being knocked out of the room or stuck in a conga line of stun locks. I guess the way I would fix that would be have different attacks and different objects carry with them differing amounts of recoil. If not for the, I can understand the spiked ceiling in the middle of the road. The spikes at the ends of the room, though, are badly placed. From a design standpoint, and I mean this calmly, the typical pattern the player would move during a boss fight would be to go down the room, jump over its head at the end of the room, down the room, jump over its head at the end of the room, back and forth while dodging the pips in the floor and dodging attacks. By putting spikes in the ceiling at the end of the room, though, you've nearly guaranteed that the player gets stuck in a position where they're forced to take a hit from the ceiling as well as be knocked back into the boss, causing them to take an inordinate amount of damage periodically throughout the fight, based not off of skill nor dodging ability, but based off of just bad positioning of hazards. Overuse of hazards in a room are problematic. Putting them right in the corner is not even a, it's less of a hindrance and more of a just, it's there to be a big middle finger. That one there in that end of the room is positioned in such a way that it makes it really difficult to get over the Zeta's head without hitting that, because if you hit that, you end up knocked into the Zeta's head. I mean, I guess what it's trying to get you to do is jump over their head before reaching the end of the room, but that's just counterintuitive to most boss game to most game bosses. I'm not even saying anything about what just happened. And now it's just following me so closely I can't even get an attack on. Get hit by the ceiling in that end of the room, you're guaranteed 2 to 3 hits from it. Oh joy, I'm out of missiles. Go ahead, end it. Nothing I can do about it. that is staying true to the original Metroid 2 because there was no charge beam back then. When the charge beam was introduced in Super Metroid, one of its main functions was, you know that boss that can only take damage from missiles? Yeah, charge beam shot will hurt it too, so if you run out, you can at least still hurt it. But with that Pearl of Wisdom, and because we're at the 30-minute mark, I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I will see you next time.